This is Laura DeFranco, holistic physical therapist and owner of Brave Healer Productions. I'm excited to bring you my new holistic healing series where you're going to learn from the experts what it means to live fiercely alive, mind, body, and soul. I invite you now to take a breath, relax, and feel the vibe of the words my guest has to share with you today. Welcome, everybody. Today on the Brave Healing Podcast, I have the distinct pleasure to bring you 4 of the amazing authors of the upcoming book, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Stress Relief. People are getting tired of me saying this, but I don't know about you all. I think the whole world needs stress relief right now. It's just the way it goes. Carolyn McGee, David Macleod, Jennifer Moore, and Jeanette Stewart are going to help me with the mission I have here at Brave Healer Productions to change the world one brave word at a time. Hey there, amazing authors.
Hey there.
You guys, first of all, thank you so much for saying yes to this book project and for being awesome and for being the amazing teachers, master teachers and writers and coaches that you are. You know, it's one thing, you all can do this all day long with your clients. It's one thing to teach that way, but to have somebody say, okay, now I want you to write it in a book in a way that the reader can have a practical experience by the time they're done. That's a challenge, and you all did it beautifully. So thank you for that. Carolyn, I'm going to start with you. Tell us about this tap and rant. Now, just when I read the word rant, I'm like, ooh, I get to rant? I'm excited about this. Tell us about your chapter.
Sure. It's such a powerful modality. You know, when I first learned about tapping, which is also emotional freedom technique, or EFT for short, it was very formal and it had to be done in a certain way, and you were sitting down and you followed a script, and none of that works for my intuitive nature. I struggled. I had such a difficult time with that. But you know, over years of practice on myself and on my clients, I remembered that movement and the ability to channel what was appropriate in the time. It shifted everything. So the tap and rant is you are pacing and moving and tapping with what comes in and just releasing so much pent-up energy that the healing is exponential. It's just amazing. It's very, very powerful.
I had a pretty powerful experience with tapping way back when, and I think like all of you, I've been a seeker of new ways to heal, right? And this was one of the ones where I walked away from that session, which was an in-person session at the time, feeling like somebody had lifted a boulder off of my body. It literally felt that freeing. So I love this technique. And I especially love that you took it and you made it into something that could work for you. You didn't just walk away when it wasn't working for you. You figured out how to make it work for you. Talk about that for a minute in terms of people and seeking.
Yeah. So, you know, as a coach, whatever someone, whether it be me or a client, has the most resistance to, it's what you need the most for healing. And
darn it.
So much resistance to tapping. It was unreal. And, you know, if you read my story, you'll find out I had to reach out for help, and I really struggled with it. It was very challenging for me. But in the end, by allowing my own body's energy to connect with the optimum way for me to do the tapping and connecting with my angels, my guides, etc., then I could do this in a way that worked for me and then worked for the people that are drawn to me. Because, you know, there's so many different people out there that are drawn to different modalities, different coaches. And it's just, you know, this kind of follow your own drummer thing. That's really what it is. At the bottom line, it's following your own heart, following your own guidance.
So you guys, Carolyn McGee is an intuitive strategist and coach specializing in amplifying your intuitive superpower to understand, trust, and follow your soul's path to live a joyful, abundant, and purposeful life, helping you remember your connection to your intuition to enhance receiving messages, trust your guidance 24/7, and take empowered action. Thank you for being here, Carolyn.
My pleasure.
David, I want to talk to you next. Talk to us about this relax chapter. You're going to help us chill, man.
Well, how do I describe this? I mean, this process came out of an experience I had back in 2013, where well, let's just say it was a rather unexpected, low-flying experience. And I'll let people figure that out when they read the chapter. And, but during that experience, I was introduced to this really powerful voice that seemed to surround me, like not just around my head, but around my entire body and around my entire being, that commanded me to relax. And the voice was really deep and powerful. It was kind of like hearing, I don't know, James Earl Jones or somebody like that talking, you know, with that nice, deep, booming voice. And, well, of course, at the time, I observed the command, and it really helped me get through that situation. But what I realized later on, after the situation occurred, and I was now looking at my life and some of the lessons that I learned from that, I realized that I had not been honoring the truth of who I am. I had not been sharing the lessons that I had learned in the previous years of my life. And it was time for me to step up and do that. And that brought up a lot of fear and stress for me. So I had to learn again how to relieve that stress. And so it reminded me of that situation. And then I just put together a process that really helped me personally. And I thought it might be useful for other people. So it's actually a two-part process involving tensing and relaxing the body, and then following that up with some additional kind of more fun work, I think, where it involves laughter, it involves acceptance, and it involves gratitude. And those key exercise portions, if you like, help to basically build up endorphins and oxytocin and remove the cortisol that's in the body. So it's a powerful, powerful process. And I just have fun with it now.
Well, you know, you wrote a story that hooked me in for sure. You took us on a ride, so to speak, and we'll let them figure it out, right, too, on
Yep.
that one. And I just wanted to, this is really a thank you to all of you for sharing your authentic stories, for really stepping up and trailblazing the authentic storytelling as a part of this healing process, because we get to know and love you from that share. And then we really want to learn what you're here to teach us at that point. And so I wanted to just ask you, I know that you have shared your story before, but can you talk about how it was and how the writing process is for you when you share like that?
Well, the writing process I find very cathartic in its own way. You know, I've definitely shared that story before, but I never have written it out in this way. And I want to thank you for that, Laura, because you really encouraged me to find the right kinds of words to express the story in a way that when I read it back to myself and I actually read it out loud, I thought, wow, this thing really does have a lot of power, a lot more than I give it credit for. And I think this might be a common experience for other people. You know, the experience that you go through, you went through it. And so when you recite it later after the fact, it maybe seems weaker than it really was. But the truth is, people can still really resonate with your story and they can learn from it. So in that sense, I'm very, very grateful to have had the opportunity to write out this story, to go through the challenges of finding just the right words to say what I wanted to say, and then trimming it down, because I can't remember if it was Mark Twain who said, I would have made it shorter, but I didn't have enough time. And really that is so true. I couldn't believe how hard it was to find the parts that I wanted to trim out. But it was a great experience, and I'm sure glad that I went through it. So thank you again for that.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing story. You guys, David Macleod is a certified master life coach with a PhD in holistic life coaching and a DD in spiritual count. What's a DD, David?
That's a Doctor of Divinity.
Thank you. In spiritual counseling. He has a lot with capital L-O-T, life experience. We're going to learn some of that in this chapter. He shares wisdom, insights, lessons, and expertise in countless ways that help people all over the world become true masters of their lives. Thank you for being here today.
Honored. Thank you.
Jeanette, talk to us about gratitude, my gratitude goddess woman.
My chapter is about gratitude and the magical elixir to reduce stress, worry, and anxiety. And I had a lot of experience last year while I was healing from pancreatic cancer. And so all along the way, I was able to tap into gratitude, gratitude for the gift of my life, gratitude for my wonderful medical team, for support of family and friends, and just knowing that I was held and loved and supported. People were all over the world were praying for me. And the statistics for pancreatic cancer are very grim. They say in 2020, about 60,000 people will be diagnosed and about 50,000 will die from it. So the statistics are really grim, and I was able to have the surgery, which was not a given due to the location and the vein involvement of my tumor. And so when I was able to have the surgery, I was grateful that I was able to have it, but it was like really scary also. And so I reframed it. I called it Operation Hope instead of surgery, because that made me feel better. So I just feel the gift of my life every day. I'm grateful for it. And I've shared some ways that I document that gratitude and incorporate that in my daily life. So.
The one thing that I love the most about gratitude, and it's something that I've read in a couple of different places, is that when you are in the energy of gratitude, you cannot simultaneously be in the state of fear. It will take over that and it will shift it almost immediately, I have found. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Right. That is so true. So when you are practicing gratitude, you leave your stress, worry, and anxiety behind. Like you say, you can't have both, because gratitude is such a high vibration feeling. It's right up there with appreciation and love, which is the highest. And so the lower vibrations of worry, depression, anxiety, those are reduced, eliminated as you're practicing gratitude. And there's just so many ways you can do it. People make notes, people just go out in nature and look for the beauty and absorb the natural beauty around them. Others tell friends, share their gratitude on social media or whatever. So there's just many ways a person can do it. And I have some examples of some of the things I put in my chapter of ways to document your gratitude.
I know that if you talk to healers and anyone in healthcare, that's going to be a foundational practice. And what the viewers are going to understand about the book is there are going to be some running themes through all the chapters because they are foundational ideas to healing. And I believe gratitude is one of those. And of course, you all are teaching awareness in your different, unique, awesome, badass voices. That everyone is teaching an awareness tool, and you guys are taking it to another level. And people are laughing when I say this is ninja level. Like, this is upper level awareness, right? And it really is a game changer. You guys, Jeanette Stewart, best-selling author, certified angel card reader, blogger, military mom, and emissary of joy at Angel Angles and Wellbeing and Wonder, will assist you to own and embrace your divinity and live a life of love, joy, and peace. Gentleness and joy are her superpowers. Thank you for being here, Jeanette.
Thank you.
So you guys, I want to have a chat about integration. And David, I'm going to start with you for this one. So we know this is important. Oh, did I miss Jennifer Moore? Oh my God. Thank God she rose her hand and stopped me. Jennifer, talk to me about your chapter. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. I was getting so excited with everything that everybody's talking about. I'm just like, oh my God, this book is so amazing.
I'm so embarrassed. That was like my worst nightmare. So now it's happened and it's over with.
Exactly.
That I would forget somebody. Okay.
Exactly. Well, and there's, it's that whole thing of like, it's not about doing it right. It's about doing it, and it's about showing up. And, so I also have a chapter in the book that's talking about emotional freedom techniques, also known as tapping. My chapter is called Tapping for Turbulent Times. And Carolyn and I both had a similar response to the original recipe and the original rigidity of the way that, Gary Craig, who created emotional freedom technique originally, was a Stanford engineer. And you can absolutely see that an engineer started EFT because it's very formulaic, it's very precise, it's very like you follow these sets of rules. And I had a very similar experience in that the saying, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, just did not fly for me. It was like my BS detector went off pretty much immediately. And I had to find a way to make it work for me. And so the chapter is about specifically how to use an EFT in a very, very precise and dialed in way to start recognizing what's mine and what's not mine. Because my passion is working with highly sensitive empathic people and helping them to recognize what they're taking on from the world around them. And what I'm finding is that as the entire climate, both socially, politically, environmentally, is heating up on the planet, people who have not necessarily been picking up on the thoughts, feelings, and energy of the world around them are now starting to pick stuff up. And what's happening is that we have sort of this feedback loop of empathic distress and empathic overwhelm. And often the challenge is that we think the issue's our own, when really it's about the fact that we've been taking on stuff that's coming at us. So my chapter is about how to use tapping EFT to really get clear about what's going on by specifically tapping on physical sensations in our body. Because believe it or not, when we pay attention to the physical in our body, it will almost always lead us to other answers. Actually, I will say it will always lead us to other answers. And so my chapter it's sort of like Carolyn has this chapter where she's sharing this very, very free-for-all approach to using EFT, which is amazing. And I use Tap and Rant a lot with people too, because it's a great way to let off steam. My approach is sort of this is a laser specific approach to how do we get in there? How do we find the language? How do we actually tap in a way that works for us and follow the thread that our body leads us to find answers?
So you all also wrote a book called Empathic Mastery.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting and it's important for people to understand. This came up in one of the other interviews as well, being an empath and even like what that means. And you're covering a lot of those topics in your book. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. So I guess
I owe it to you because I forgot about you. So, you know, I'm going to have to at least do that.
So what I will say is that in my experience, empathy and being an empath versus on the other side of it is being a sociopath or a psychopath, that there is sort of that it's a spectrum, and that some people are on one side where they're so disconnected and separate that they don't necessarily have any awareness of what's going on in the world around them, or particularly how other people are experiencing the world. And then we have people who are at the absolute extreme that I call the extreme empaths, who are picking up the thoughts, feelings, energy, sensations, pain, everything that is going on in the world around them, and not necessarily limited to other people. It can be the geopathic distress. It can be things coming from the past, things coming from the future. Some people are so sensitive that they're picking up things from ghosts, spirits, animals, as well as ETs even. And what happens when somebody is in that place, if they don't have tools, it becomes incredibly hard to distinguish what's mine and what's not mine. And as a result, what happens is we're in this state of perpetual distress. And for many of us, we've been told from the time we were tiny, 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 you're making too big a deal out of it, you're taking this too personally, suck it up, you're overreacting, get over it, stop worrying about it, let it go. I'm pretty sure nearly at least half of the audience knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I can see everybody nodding their head as I'm saying this.
Getting whiplash over here.
Yeah, you know, and so the thing about this is that right now, more and more people are picking this up. And as a result, we must learn how to manage empathic distress in a way that allows us to acknowledge it and release it, so that we are not just contributing to or reinforcing this tape loop of distress that's going on in the world.
You guys, Jennifer Moore is the author of Empathic Mastery, the book she's been talking about, energy healer and master trainer for EFT International. Jennifer Moore supports empathic women to release overwhelm and claim their gifts. With over 3 decades of experience, Jen brings depth and compassion to her work through a mix of intuition, Capricorn pragmatism, and finely tuned healing skills. Nice. I'm so glad you're here, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura.
All right, David, I'm coming back to you for this next question, and it is about integration. And so we as healers talk a lot about the mind, body, soul, spirit, and we talk about integrating, and it's kind of like, well, duh, like we should have all parts included in this healing journey, but talk about why this is so important.
That's a great question. And it's funny, I hadn't thought about the why so much because it just feels so natural to me. And I'm sure it feels natural to everybody else here on the panel. I think part of the problem that I see in our world right now is we have a whole world of people who seem to be focused on this part of their anatomy, this tiny little piece up here. It is an important piece, no question about it. I mean, it's our brain, it's the object that makes it possible for us to communicate and do all kinds of amazing things. But when we focus all our attention on logic and linear thinking and science and all that stuff, we forget about a lot of other stuff that's also going on. And this puts us in a place where we may even shut down our connection to our spiritual side. So for me personally, a big part of my personal growth has been to just kind of wake up that part of myself and understand that the spiritual is way more important than the physical to begin with. It's not as important, it is more important. But the idea of integrating, to me, is about bringing in 4 parts, not just 3. And I talk about these as independent components because you got the heart, which represents, the emotional side. You've got the body, which represents the physical side. and maybe the action component of life. You've got the mind, which represents the thinking part, the thought piece, and then you've got the soul, which represents the whole spiritual aspect, and I think the being aspect. So, you know, all of these pieces have to be addressed for all of us. And if we don't do that, then we end up suffering and we end up going through life with complete lack of fulfillment.
Thank you. I like hearing you talk about this way. Carolyn, add your 2 cents into integration. How do you think about it?
You know, so for me, integration is, it goes through the heart. You know, if you think about the heart, it's the center of our physical body. It's the center of our 7 embodied chakras. It's the center of heaven and earth. You know, Mother Earth and Father Sky, divine feminine, divine masculine. The heart is the center. And if we can't integrate all of that information that is available around us, you know, that inspiration that comes in, whether it's from angels or spirit guides, into the grounded ability to feel our bodies, so that we can take that intuitive information and bring it out into the world, take action on it, then, you know, then we're living up here. Like David said, we're all in our heads, and we're not able to move it out into the world, where the world needs to have this information. So for me, integration's all about the heart, meeting right here and processing it through, allowing my heart to feel the truth of whatever the information is coming in, so that then I can bring it out into the world.
I love that. Jennifer, how do you think about this?
So for me, integration is about releasing the illusion of the idea that all of this is separate. Mm. And, you know, it's like the idea that we've been living for at least 2,000 years in this paradigm of the body and the soul are separate, that the idea that spirituality is this thing that's sort of up in the sky, and our bodies are these lowly things that, you know, these sinful lowly things that we need to like repent from. And what I really believe integration offers us is the opportunity to really experience the richness of the fact that all of this is interconnected, all of this is the same. And that when we are when we do experience the integration of all of the different aspects of ourselves, which I think in terms of the elements of air, which is our thoughts, fire, which is our actions, water, which is our heart and our emotions, earth, which is our physical body, and spirit, which is our soul. When I think about that integration of those 5 elements, then we have the full, complete, whole human being. And when we are in that place, we can function in a way that when we are in a place of divided will and divided perception of the idea of good, bad, black, white, male, female, all this stuff, that we end up spinning our wheels. And so for me, integration is both about the allowing equal space for everything, because one of the things I have noticed for so many of us is that from a standpoint of emotion, we live in a world that on one hand hates negative emotions and wants to avoid them at all costs. But on the other level, whenever somebody has a feeling, we have this kind of way of making it be so serious that it's sort of like, stop the world. I have to get off. I'm having a feeling. And I see integration as having everything, having the opportunity to have an equal place and perspective, so that no one aspect of ourselves is driving the bus or taking over.
I also love that way of thinking about this. This is what's so beautiful about having a book full of 25 different voices, that you can hear about these topics. And this is such an interesting theme throughout the book too. Intuition is a really interesting theme throughout the book, the connection to the inner wisdom, the awareness, right? We all have to think about some foundational ideas with that. Jeanette, what do you think about integration?
Well, what everyone else said was really amazing. And what I was thinking about is that allowing our inner child who I know for me, I shut the door on her at age 12 and lost my joy. And so I was way out of balance and out of whack. And then when I realized that this part of me, this innocent part of me needed to be nourished, I integrated her back into my life and was able to find my joy and express it. And it's just a wonderful honoring of that part of ourselves.
Yes, with an exclamation point. I can't tell you how amazing it was to reconnect with joy, just that simple thing. And sad that it had to happen as a much older adult, but still it happened, and it was a game changer for me. I'm going to stick with you, Jeanette, for this next question that I'll ask all of you. But right now, you know, people are overwhelmed and stressed out. They had their stress before 2020, and then here came 2020 and boom, right? And we all know all of the things that are going on. So this is it's a big question. Let's see where you guys want to go with this. But what is one important thing you want the viewer to understand about this bigger healing journey that we're all on?
To be easy and light with yourself, not judging, that you really know the answer if we will just tune in and allow our inner wisdom to come to the forefront, and that life is meant to be a joyous experience, and you don't have to know all the answers right now. You just have to be content where you are right now, and then to move forward in what brings you joy, because what brings you joy is why you are here, and to share that with the world in your own unique way.
Thank you. Yes, again to that. Carolyn, what's something that you want the viewers to understand about this bigger healing journey that we're all on?
You know, everybody talks about kind of, there's 4 ways to receive divine information. You can see, hear, feel, or know. I always think that there's a 5th one, which is being. You know, we're being in the moment, we're being present, we're being open to receiving information. And for me, 2020 is about being your authentic self, you know, having true relationships, whether it's somebody who you're living with, or you're picking up the phone with, or you're reconnecting from college on a Zoom call because you can't. I was supposed to go on a big cruise with my college friends. So instead of a big cruise, we're doing every other week Zoom calls, but we're being present to each other and keeping that connection alive. And it's me going out in my garden and being with the fairies, and, you know, and being with the plants and feeling the earth in my hands. It's all about being and open to receive, and feeling the gratitude, and feeling the presence, and feeling the love, and feeling the connection that's available to us. Because there's an illusion out there of isolation and separation because of the fact that, you know, we've had to pull back physically, but that doesn't mean that we have to pull back from our hearts. We can still be, and we can be connected.
Yes, no doubt, for sure. The amazing blessings that we've had with technology giving us connection like some people have never experienced before. You know, they were kind of maybe forced on it a little. It's choking me up thinking about it.
These beautiful books that we've been able to, you know, to be part of. It's just been an amazing way to connect in a different way.
Jennifer, talk to me about one important thing that you really want the viewer to understand about this bigger healing journey that we're on.
So what I'm really finding right now is that where I think the magic is in tenderness, love, and acceptance. And that one of the things that I have found with working with tapping over the years is that avoiding the negative, like going straight to the putting up the bubble of light and acting like everything is hunky-dory and saying all kinds of affirmations that you actually don't believe in, is not the way through this. That the first step is about having tenderness and love for ourselves and for what we are going through. And that, you know, what I continue to find is the paradox of the universe is that what we resist persists. When we push things away, make it wrong, say that it's a problem, I don't want to be feeling this feeling, what happens is that we amplify it. And when we instead approach things with loving acceptance, miracles happen and things have a way of shifting. So if there's one message that I really want to share and that I hope anybody and everybody can take away from this, is that loving ourselves through this really difficult time gently, tenderly, compassionately is the key to doing this, not beating the ever-loving, you can add the expletive, out of ourselves about it.
Yes, and how lovely to remember that, right? I think we need to remind ourselves of that quite often, sometimes depending on what's going on. All right, David, talk to me.
Well, I really love what Jennifer was just saying there. I think that's a beautiful sentiment. I totally resonate with everything that you said, Jennifer. Thank you for that. And, you know, I think one of the things that I was sharing a little earlier when we had our technical glitch was that I think that the biggest cause of all of the world's problems has to do with the fact that we've forgotten who we really are. We imagine ourselves to be separate from one another, as Carolyn mentioned, and I think that by having that sense of separation, we are able then, using our ego minds, to make other people wrong and ourselves right, even though the other people are merely reflections of ourselves. Because, as I said, the separation is just an illusion. So we all see each other and we accommodate each other, but we try to do things to shut certain parts of ourselves down, and we do that by attacking outwardly. And that's all part of the ego mind. When we get out of the ego and down into our heart and into that spiritual essence of who we are, then we begin to remember the truth of who we are. And when we remember the truth of who we are, then we begin to heal. And that healing has an immediate result of eliminating stress, because all of a sudden we realize, oh, there really wasn't any problem in the first place. It was all a question of perspective. And so we can heal ourselves just by remembering the truth of who we are. And then once we get that remembrance, we begin to see our connection to everybody else. And then the miracles really start happening.
I like miracles. This book is a small miracle, don't you think?
I think it's a great big miracle.
Especially considering the timeline.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I can't speak enough about how timely it's been to get the collaboration going, and also just, yeah, it's been amazing.
You know, I wanted to just say something about this book, because when we got our advanced reader copies, you know, the first thing I did, of course, was to make sure that everything that I had written was typographically correct and all the rest of it. But I couldn't help but read some of the other chapters that people had put in. And let me tell you, there's some amazing, amazing stuff in there. So I want to honor you, Laura, for having the vision to bring this together and for inviting all these amazing people to participate. I think it's really going to be a huge gift to the world, and I'm just looking forward to see how people receive it.
Oh, thank you so much. I completely agree with this being a gift to people. Yes, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. It's been a pivot that I've made over the time of COVID. And it's been incredible for me to just look at life and say, life, okay, you're going to do this to me right now. So what's the opportunity here? And
Right.
in a lot of the interviews, everybody is talking that same way. They're able to look at something bad and not make it mean anything in their head too much, but just ask that big question. What might the opportunity be? You know, what might I learn from this? Who knows, right? What could happen? And this book is one of those things for me. So it's been incredible. You guys, I was wondering if you could talk for a minute about your own personal self-care routine, and maybe just one or two things that you love to do to nourish yourself. So let's go to Jennifer with that.
So, like Carolyn, spending time out in the garden is a really important, being connected to the earth and spending time every single day walking around outside in nature is a really big part of what nourishes and feeds my soul. And for me, self-care is about making sure that I'm doing the basics of I'm drinking plenty of water. Here's the jar that was featured in my chapter. You know, that I'm drinking plenty of water, that I'm eating foods that are good for my body as opposed to causing my body harm, and that I'm getting plenty of sleep. And then sort of my three go-to tools are tapping and breathing are very, very important to me. And praying is another thing. I make a point of spending a good amount of time praying every single day. And actually, even though I am far from a conventional Catholic, I've actually taken up praying the rosary on a regular basis, which has been miraculously life-changing. And thankfully found a community of other people who pray it in the way that I do, which is pretty woo. And so, you know, for me, it's really about just really doing the practices that feed my soul. So time in nature, tapping, breathing, and praying, as well as eating good food, drinking good water, and sleeping.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jeanette, tell me about your self-care routine. What are some of the things you do aside from gratitude?
So first thing in the morning, I have my morning quiet time, and that's when I check in with the divine and I read something inspirational, and I always write and pray and consider what my intention for the day is going to be. And at the end of the day, one of the highlights of my day is to take a bath. And that just feels so soothing, and it makes me have a good night's rest. And if I don't take the time to take a bath, then I don't sleep as well. So that's my go-to.
I love the bath too. Do you use essential oils in your bath?
Yeah, and I love like baking soda or Epsom salts or Himalayan bath salts. Yeah, good stuff.
we're getting head
Everybody's
nods on
shaking their
that.
heads, yeah.
So I love it. Carolyn, tell me about your self-care routine.
So one of the things that I don't really talk about in this particular book is that I'm also a pet psychic. So I'm very connected to my animals. I have, and so just connecting in with them, listening to their wisdom, feeling the love that they have for me, you know, walking my dog, being outside, as I mentioned earlier, you know, being in my garden, really connecting with the essence of the plants, as well as the dirt itself. You know, I like the grounding, walking barefoot. I am walking barefoot outside in the snow sometimes. I mean, it's just really connecting into that earth energy. Meditative walking is another thing that is very profound for me. I don't do a daily bath like Jeanette, but I've got the same kind of recipe that I do on a weekly basis. So it's kind of my reset for the week that I move into. And it's just, you know, connecting into my heart, remembering who I am and who I'm here to serve, and being a channel and just being present, really being present.
Beautiful.
How about you, David?
Well, it's interesting, you know, I live alone, so I don't have anybody else in my house. And it's been a bit of a challenge to be experiencing that sense of physical aloneness, because it's, you know, I really miss hugs. That's one thing I want. You know, I just want some hugs. That's what I want. But I am very grateful because I have my dog here, Apollo. And he's just an absolutely amazing dog. And I'm so grateful that I got him, because I don't know what might have happened if I didn't have him. But one of the beauties of having this dog is, well, he needs to go out. And so I have made it a practice now. I go out for 3 different walks with him every day. One in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one again at night, just before I go to bed. And I have found that that has really helped me, you know, to get outside, first of all, to experience the whatever weather conditions happen to be going on, and to just enjoy the fact that I'm alive and that I'm able to be out there. I do see people when I'm walking, and it's nice to be able to connect with them, even if I don't get the hugs that I would really like. But at least Apollo is willing to hug me. Even though I don't know if he knows for sure what that means to me, I'm sure he gets something out of it too. But he's just an amazing dog. The other thing that I do is I do a fair bit of yoga. So a lot of yoga poses and stuff, which I find that stretching really helps to make me feel better, makes me feel more relaxed. And of course, as you know, my favorite pose is Shavasana, as I mentioned in my book, or in my chapter of the book. But and so I do that, and I do a lot of writing, music type writing. So I'm very much involved in the musical world, and as I told you before, I write poetry as well. So those are the ways that I, you know, kind of keep myself alive and in touch with the divine and the spiritual aspect of who I am, and the way that I connect with everything around me. So thank you for asking.
Music and poetry both have been a way of, you know, nourishing, especially in these last few months. Bringing music back into my world has been incredible. And just the gift of having the time to make a meal, a full meal, and really just be in the process of cooking and preparing and cooking. It's, I don't know what, I think I hadn't been. And you know, sometimes you realize when you finally have the time to do some of these things and you're really slowing down, you realize, you know, it's been a while, but that's been one amazing thing for me. Okay, we're going to do this speed dating version, you guys. You ready? So, you know, there are a lot of people who are struggling right now. There are a lot of people who are overwhelmed. So I'm going to challenge you to give it to them in a sentence or two. What is a message you have? David, I'm going to stick with you for this one. For someone who's just maybe losing hope right now.
Oh boy. When you understand the truth of who you really are, you will understand that there is no reason to lose hope, because you are love and hope and gratitude and all of that beautiful stuff. So take that in.
I love it. Thank you. Jennifer, how about you?
Oh, David, thank you. You just brought tears to my eyes. And, you know, I think that really, like, breathe, you know, lean into the skid in the same way that when it comes to, if you've hit black ice and you're feeling like you're spinning out, we try to drive away from it. And the best thing we can possibly do is lean into the skid and allow it, you know, and so it's like, instead of avoiding it, just lean in and know this too shall pass.
I love that. Lean into the skid. Yee, that's going to be fun.
That's a book title right there.
I know, I think so.
Yeah.
You might be right.
Carolyn, how about you? What's a message to somebody who might be losing a little bit of the hope right now?
Just a reminder that we're all spiritual beings having a physical existence, that, you know, we all live in our hearts. Our souls are so wise. Our hearts are our most intuitive muscle, to really trust and have faith and know that it's all good. The universe is truly conspiring in our favor, and it may not make sense now, but it will sometime. Have faith.
Thank you. How about you, Jeanette?
Yes, it would be an invitation to not give up hope. It's that you are never alone. You have a team of love and support here on the earth, as well as just beyond the veil. And just to reach out. You can reach out to any one of us here. We'd be happy to help and support you in any way we could. So,
thank you. Oh my goodness. Jeanette Stewart, Carolyn McGee, David Macleod, Jennifer Moore, thank you so much for what you're doing in the world and for being here to share it with everybody today.
Thank you, Laura.
So you guys, the Wellness Universe is an incredible platform founded by Anna Pereira, where all of these amazing human beings are hanging out. So don't forget to check the show notes, because I'm going to link you up to the Wellness Universe, but also to every individual author with their websites. Take it a step further, go explore. What Jeanette said about the fact that we are here for you, that's genuine. These people that I hang with are genuinely interested in helping you and guiding you, and they care about you. And you're going to feel that. If you didn't already feel it today, you're going to feel it, especially as you get with them and explore their worlds and figure out what they're doing and the books they've written and the programs that they run. And oh my goodness, it's really quite overwhelming. You've got resources, everybody. So lastly today, what if there is something that you haven't learned yet that could change everything? We might have a couple of those somethings in this new book for you guys. It's going to launch 11/11. How is that for all you angel loving number lovers?
hey.
So until then, be brave, everyone. Thank you guys. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.